Hello BookTube, hello friends, welcome to Lizzie Faye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth, and it is September 4th, 2021, and I need to share with you what I read in the month of August. And hopefully this won't take too long because I already did a mid-month wrap-up, and that's a good thing because I ended up with a total of 36 books completed in the month of August, and 9 of them were books in print. So I am really happy with that. I was going for 40. Yeah, I was going for 40. I know, overachiever that I am. But I knew I probably wasn't going to quite hit that, and I'm really happy with 36. So let me just kind of go through everything. Let me break it down by genre or category. Of the 36 books, 27 of them were audio, and then of course 9 were in print. And I had said at the beginning of the month that I was going to really focus on middle grade books and especially Newbery winners. And I did that, and I was real happy with my progress. And that probably explains how I was able to get through so many, because 16 of the books that I finished were middle grade books, and a lot of those were Newbery winners or related to Newbery winners. And then one YA book, which was one of my trilogies. I didn't end up finishing the other trilogy that I had been working on, but that's okay. I'll get that done. 2 were nonfiction. 4 were historical fiction, and those 4 were all one series, kind of companion books, really, all by one author, so I'm counting that as an unofficial, unplanned author binge. One of them was for my book club, and so I just read the whole series, and it was great. Then I read 6 mysteries plus 1 cozy mystery, so a total of 7 mysteries. 2 of them were more of a suspense, and then 3 westerns. And of the westerns, 1 was humorous, 1 was a romance, and the other was more historical fiction, fictionalized, sort of. And that was my BookTube spin book, so I'll tell you about that in a minute. And then other than those, I read 1 other romance that was a buddy read, and 1 women's fiction, which was for another challenge I was doing, and then 1 fantasy book, which was actually a manuscript that I was reading for my author friend Jack Castle. And so that book is not even on Goodreads yet. It's not even bound yet. It was a manuscript on paper, but I'm counting it as a book read. I did spread it out over a couple months, but got it done in August, so that was awesome. And of course I will tell you more about that as I go. His most recent book was just released, and I read an arc of it back in March. It's called Desert Origins, and it's part of the Stranger World series. So the one I read today, let me show you the Stranger World book if I can find it. It's a science fiction fantasy, more fantasy really, but a little bit steampunk kind of too. So this is the very first Stranger World book called Stranger World, and the one that's just coming out is the 5th book in that series. But the one I just finished is a spin-off of this, and you don't have to read this to read the spin-off, and it's called The Lieutenant. So be on the lookout for that. It takes place 200 years after the Stranger World series. So that's cool. And so let me start with the middle grade, since that was really the bulk of what I read. I mentioned that a lot of these are Newbery related. I did manage to get 1 Newbery video done. I had done 1, I don't actually know the exact date of it. You know, I've noticed that YouTube has stopped showing the exact dates that your videos were posted, at least in some searches, and I don't like that. I like to know when a video was posted. But anyway, in the last, little over a month, I have managed to get 2 Newbery videos done, and I'm ready now to do a 3rd one because of what I got read this month. So anyway, the books I've already talked about that were from the decade of 2000 to 2009. Kita Kita by Cynthia Kadohata. I always want to make sure I get the vowels right in that. Crisscross by Lynn Ray Perkins. Good Masters, Sweet Ladies, Voices from a Medieval Village by Laura Amy Schlitz. And this is a book of short plays. And then The Higher Power of Lucky by Susan Patrone. Patrone or Patron? Patrone, I think. It looks like patron, but the audiobook narrator pronounced it with a different accent. And then the ones that I read, I'm losing one of my little roses that I had stuck there. The ones that I finished that I will tell you about very soon in my next Newbery video are from the 1950s, Rifles for Wadey by Harold Keith. I reread The Witch of Blackbird Pond by Elizabeth George Spear. And all the others are ones I had not read before. Carry On, Mr. Bowditch by Jean Lee Latham. The Secret of the Andes, it's by Anne Nolan Clark. The Door in the Wall by Marguerite D'Angeli. And The Wheel on the School by Meindert de Jong. So I enjoyed the, I really enjoyed all of these. And I'm excited to tell you more about them in my next Newbery video. Then, just for fun, these were on my shelf, and I will be doing a video soon about the 20 teens. And I've read most of them, but this was on my shelf, and I saw that this and the sequel were on Hoopla, so I just went and listened to both of them. I had not listened to the sequel. So Dead End in Norvelt by Jack Gantos is kind of an autobiographical account of his adolescence, and it's hilarious. I really enjoyed it. And then it continues on with From Norvelt to Nowhere. I thoroughly enjoyed both of these. I had forgotten how witty he is, and I think I really want to go back and read more of his books. So he has an interesting history. I was reading a little bit of his biographical information, and he actually spent some time in prison and has written a book about that and the mistakes he made, and falling in with the wrong crowd, being in the wrong place at the wrong time, that kind of thing. And it just sounds really fascinating. So these took place, of course, before his time in prison, and just so entertaining. Very, very fun. And then some others that I just wanted to read that are middle grade books. I read my very first finish of the month was The Unteachables by Gordon Corman, one of the Sunshine State books for this current school year. And then City Spies is a sequel to, or this is City Spies Golden Gate, which is a sequel to City Spies. That was a Sunshine State book last year or year before. These are by James Ponti. And I want to, because I've enjoyed the books I've read so far by James Ponti, I have decided that I want to read everything by him. And he's even a Florida author, so that's pretty cool. And this was fun. There is a new one coming out, a third book in that series that's going to be out later this year, I believe. And this has been a series I've been just kind of cheeking away at a little bit at a time. Actually, not that much, because this is only book 3. But I read the first one back when Katie was in middle school and thought it was hilarious. The first book is Charlie Joe Jackson's Guide to Not Reading. It's by not Jack Gantos, Tommy Greenwald. Then I got around to reading the second book when I was doing my 20 by 20 challenge. And so now this is the third book. I discovered that they're on Scribd on audio, so that's awesome. And there's at least 2 more, I think, and I definitely want to read those. This one was about summer camp. His parents sent him to Camp Read a Bookie, and it wasn't spelled like that, but when you say it, that's how it sounds. And it was basically an academic camp to try to force him to actually read something and come a little farther ahead in his academics. So it was funny. Then the last middle grade book that I read, I listened to on audio, and this was for a birthday challenge, kind of for a birthday challenge that I was doing. It was an added book. The Secret of the O'Clock by Carolyn Keene is the first book in the Nancy Drew series. This I've read and reread multiple times, but I had this on my shelf, and I started out the month saying I was going to do a couple of birthday challenges. My siblings had their birthdays in August, and I said I was going to read books that they have recommended or sent to me. And then Donna from Studio in the Library mentioned that it was her birthday, and she issued a challenge to do some different prompts and things that had to do with that were connected with her life in some way. And so I took on that challenge and I completed it. And so then my friend Elizabeth Tyree, after they were watching that video, she said that both of her girls had birthdays in August, and one of them wanted me to read a book about chickens or tractors, and the other one wanted me to read a Nancy Drew in honor of their birthdays as well. So that is why I hurried up and picked up the Nancy Drew. Now, the book about chickens, I am still going to read. I did not get it done, and I even showed it in my vlog. This is Prairie Evers by Ellen Airgood. This looks so cute. I have looked everywhere to try to find it on audio. I don't think it'll take me long to read, but at the time, I was already into my stack of 8 books that I vlogged about, and I thought maybe I could squeeze it in, but I just couldn't. And so, and I also didn't quite finish my sibling birthday challenge either. My sister had sent me 3 Mary Higgins Clark books over time. She sent me one of them several years ago, and then 2 more with the box of books she sent me a couple of years ago. So the first one she sent me was Let Me Call You Sweetheart, and I listened to this on audio. I did really enjoy it. And then I only got to one of the other 2. It turns out this is her very first novel, I believe, Where Are the Children? And this was very good. I can see why, you know, Mary Higgins Clark published this book and then really took off. Her career really took off from here because this was good. The one I didn't get to is A Stranger Is Watching, so maybe I can get to that this month. I shall see. And then I had said for my brother's birthday, rather than do an author binge, which I was trying to do, Mary Higgins Clark was going to be my author binge, but I only got 2 read. I had said that I was going to read the Pillars of the Earth, or at least get started on it. This is by Ken Follett. It's the first book in the Kingsbridge series. And after I said that, several of you you commented that you were wanting to read it too. And one of those commenters was a booktuber, so I got in touch with her and I said, hey, you want to do this as a read-along? So we have decided we're going to start in January. And I don't guess it's a secret. My reading partner is going to be Felicia from Little Prairie Library. So be looking for announcements from both of us to start this series. And we're going to do a read-along of the whole series. There's 4 books, and I think we're going to try to do 1 book every 3 months. If it looks like we can do 1 book every 2 months and just, you know, not have to go all the way through the year, we could. Or, I don't know, we haven't gotten the schedule all laid out. But we will definitely take at least 2 months per book, because they are not short. And anyway, I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be super exciting. I have been a fan of Felicia's channel for longer than I've been a booktuber. She is just so chill and so cool and awesome, and I just love to watch her videos. She's a lot younger than me, but she's the type of person that I would love to be friends with in real life. She's just so cool. So anyway, that was put on hold. So what I said I would do in place of it, my brother and sister both, I realized, had sent me this book. So I really should have gotten to this. Tuesdays with Maury by Mitch Albom, but I just could not get to it either. And I started this on September 1st in my car, and I haven't really been much except to the post office and back a couple of times, so I'm not very far into it. But I am listening to this right now, and I'm a month late, but still in honor of both my siblings, since they both sent me the book, I want to get that read. Okay, so I kind of got off on a tangent, but I really had finished all the middle grade books. Then the only YA book I finished was Always and Forever, Lara Jean by Jenny Han. This is book 3 in that trilogy, so that was one of the 12 trilogies on my list to finish for this year. And let's see, what should we do next? All right, so I already started talking about the mysteries, so I may as well finish those. I mentioned the Mary Higgins Clark. The others were from a couple of different series. I listened to 3 books in the Amelia Peabody series by Elizabeth Peters. I listened to book 2, I believe, The Curse of the Pharaohs. I believe that's book 2. And then The Mummy Case is book 3. If I'm getting these out of order, I apologize. And Lion in the Valley is book 4. So I had hoped to maybe get to more of these, because these were the 3 I was supposed to read in July, and I didn't get to them in August. So I thought if I can at least get 4 or 5 done, then I'll be that much farther ahead because I need to get to book 14 by November for book club. But here we are in September, and it's Mid-Year Mystery Madness. So I'm going to read the next 3 for sure during Mid-Year Mystery Madness. And I've already got the next one checked out. It's Deeds of the Disturber. Actually, I think I've got all 3 checked out on Hoopla on audio. So definitely get to those early on, and then try to pick up maybe another 2 or 3 more before the end of September. Then the other mystery that I read or listened to was for an online book club. This is for the Killing It with Cozies book club, and we are reading the Kebab Kitchen Mysteries, 1 a month through the end of the year. So this is book 1, Hummus and Homicide. It's by Tina Cashian. I really did enjoy this. I loved the setting. The setting was a restaurant, and the family. I just loved the characters, the setting, everything. I just thought it was really good. Wasn't very long. I'm hoping that all of them are about the same length, because the rest of them I'm going to have to get on ebook. My library doesn't have any physical copies. This was the only physical copy that I could get from my library on CD, and I actually listened to it on Hoopla, but I checked this out so I would have a visual. I won't have a visual for the rest because they're only on ebook, but I'm still looking forward to reading those. I'm going to check my used bookstores and see, and maybe just check online and see about maybe buying those, because it's really a fun series, and I'd like to have something to hold in my hand. Okay, there was one mystery that I DNF'd. I don't often come on here and tell you that I didn't finish something, but I decided in this case I would need to. This is The Neon Rain by James Lee Burke. I should have brought it in here, but we are reading book, oh goodness, it's somewhere farther down, not as far as 14. Actually, it might be book 16. We're reading a book farther on down in the series for book club, for my mystery book club this month. This is book 1 in the Dave Robichaux series, and it's set in southern Louisiana. I listened to the one that I needed to read for book club back in April, when I was actually on my trip, and I was headed towards Louisiana, so it was kind of appropriate. And it was an abridged version, and I enjoyed it to an extent. It was gritty, a little foul language. This one had a lot more grit, a lot more foul language, and I thought maybe this would sort of give me some background before having to discuss, the book that we're doing this month for book club, because I facilitate that book club. And I got about 40% in, maybe 50%. And I had enough of the story, and I just didn't want to go any further. I didn't really, I think I kind of saw where it was going. I'm pretty sure I even figured out the culprit, and I just didn't want to spend any more time on it. So I'm not. And then, and again, this is this copy on CD, which I did listen to, the first half of. My library, I don't think, has any physical copies, like actual paper copies of this book anymore either, because it's been around a while. So that is it for mysteries. Oh no, it isn't. I read another mystery for Donna's birthday challenge, and actually the Amelia Peabody books were also for her birthday challenge. One of the things that she challenged us to read was something that had to do with one of the careers that she's worked in. One of those was archaeology, and also she wanted us to read something published by Poisoned Pen Press. So this or the Amelia Peabody books will count for archaeology, but this is published by Poison Pen Press. So this is Artifacts by Mary Anna Evans. This and books 2 and 3 of the Faye Longchamp series have been sitting on my shelves for several years, and I noticed that several of them are on Hoopla, so I'm definitely going to go ahead and read the ones that I own, and then I'll decide if I want to read any more. The main character was morally gray, I would say, and that was a little disconcerting, and I wasn't a big fan of all of her activities. It fed into the story, but I don't know. I really want to read books where I can really get behind the main character and really root for them, and I did root for her in a lot of ways, but some of the ways she went about accomplishing her goals were not legal. not completely moral, and at least in my opinion, and that was kind of hard to swallow. So you know, it is what it is. I will read the other two on my shelf before I give up on that series. Okay, the three Westerns. Two of these were part of my Tackling 8 Books reading vlog, and so those were books I had to read in print, and then one of them I listened to on audio, and that was one of my BookTube spin books for round 3. This is Buffalo Girls by Larry McMurtry. This is based on true events and true characters, but it was fictionalized, and you know, when that's done, it's hard to know what's fictionalized and what's true. I could kind of pick out, you know, based on the author notes, I kind of know some of what wasn't real. But it was interesting, not super entertaining. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. So, you know, it was okay. Then Calderbrand by Janet Daly. This is a new spin-off series of the Calder saga, which I have read all of. And this is published posthumously, so it didn't have the polish that it would have, I think, if she had been alive when this was finished up and published. And the characters disappointed me. I wasn't happy with the way they handled things either. But again, I'm a fan of the Calders, and I would read more if more are released. There may be already... I know there's been at least one other book that's been published since her death, but I'm not sure it's related to that. But it says this is book 1 of a series, so I'm assuming that means there's plans for more. And then I've talked already about this. This is Hey Cowboy, Wanna Get Lucky by Baxter Black. I talked more about this in my vlog. It's a novel about two rodeo cowboys. So it's humorous, it's over the top, it's quirky, it's funny, and I didn't condone everything they did, but it was still funny. And that's almost everything. One other, oh dear, hang on one second. That's not almost everything. Anyway, I'm glad I turned off the camera for a second because I realized I forgot to tell you about the whole historical fiction series that I read. But before I get to that, two that are more on the romance side. Milky Way by Muriel Jensen. It is book 9, I think it's 9, in the Welcome to Tyler series. We have 3 left, and there's 12. So 10, 11, 12. Yeah, that's right. I'm horrible with math in my head. I know, it's terrible. I loved the first half of this, and I thought, oh, this is going to be my favorite book of this series so far. And then the second half just went downhill. I did not like how the characters argued with each other. You know, in any romance book, there's going to be a conflict. And they just went about things in a strange way. I don't know. The second half just didn't appeal to me. But overall, I still rated it, I think, 4 stars because I did really enjoy reading it, at least the first half. And then this was another book I read for Donna's birthday challenge because we needed to read something that had something to do with outer space. So the closest thing I could come up with was Milk Glass Moon. This is by Adriana Trigiani. I read this first and second book in this 4-book series earlier in the year, and so now that I've read this, I've just got one left, so I'm going to go ahead and try to knock it out in September. I liked this one probably better than book 2, maybe about as well as book 1, and it's a pretty clean series overall. There's really not any swearing. There's a little sex talk, a little bit of cheating or thinking about cheating, but without foul language, which is great, and no graphic scenes or anything like that. So it's definitely down my street as far as that goes. I enjoy the characters and the accent. The author narrates these. She is of Italian descent, but she's from Virginia, so she's got this very full Virginian accent, and she's just really fun to listen to. So I enjoyed that. And so now, the only thing I have left to show you are 4 books in a kind of a series, a collection, whatever. I may do a whole video about these and tell you a little bit more in depth about them. These are by Chanel Cleeton. I think they are all on Reese Witherspoon's list, book club list. They're not listed as a series on Goodreads, but they are on Audible. And I'm trying to remember what the first one was. This is the first one, Next Year in Havana. And like I said, they're all by Chanel Cleaton. When We Left Cuba. And then The Most Beautiful... Oh, no. That's not the third one. That's the fourth one. That's a new one. The Last Train to Key West. This is the one I needed to read for book club. And so I figured, why not go ahead and read the other two first? And so once then I finished this, I enjoyed this one so much. This was my favorite out of all of them. And I saw that she had a new one out. I talked to my librarian into buying this on audio on Overdrive, and she did. So I got to listen to this one, The Most Beautiful Girl in Cuba. So this is more of a prequel, if you will. It is farther back in history than the other three. These center around the Perez family and three sisters. So each story has one of its main characters as one of these three sisters. And they're each done a little differently. These two take place in Cuba for the most part. One of them has a dual timeline. This one is historical. It's set in 1935. And it's set in Key West, but one of the three sisters, has gotten married and gone on her honeymoon with her husband, and they have stopped off in Key West on the way to their destination. So in this book, there is a hurricane coming, and it is a real hurricane that occurred on Labor Day of 1935. It's before they started naming hurricanes, and so it doesn't have a name other than the Great Labor Day Hurricane of 1935, but it was so tragic. I think I had to look up some information about it after I finished this, and saw that it, I think, is still the strongest hurricane on record in for Atlantic hurricanes, and so or at least for ones that have hit the U.S. So it was good. And then, I don't know the family connection. There is a character in here who is named Perez, and she may be the mother of these three or the grandmother. I forgot to ever go back and see for sure. Before I do a whole separate video on these books, I will try to figure out that connection. So anyway, enjoyed these. Some more than others. My least favorite was the second one, When We Left Cuba. It was more of a spy novel, and my most favorite was The Last Train to Key West. So, but I would say read any of them, read all of them, and you don't necessarily have to read them in order. You really don't have to read them in order. They're just connected, and one doesn't spoil another. So I did read them in the order I told you, but you don't have to do that. If you have access to one and not the other, go ahead and read the one that you have access to, because I recommend it. So that is everything. That is all of the 36 books that I read, as well as 5 books I didn't read or didn't finish. Actually, I didn't even show you the 3 I didn't finish in my reading vlog, but I showed you those in my reading vlog. I'm not going to hold those books up again until I get them read. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you. I completely forgot to show you the nonfiction that I read. One of them was from my TBR jar from the last draw, so I've already shown this in my TBR jar wrap-up. It's Raising Great Kids by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. This is a Christian-based parenting book. I very much enjoyed it. Thought it was great. And then this was kind of a summer reading project from our public library, The Silhouette Man by Greg Forbes Siegman, as told to Jilly Nascent Paxson, and this was very interesting. It is about a philanthropist who started at a very young age, just doing all he could for people. Mainly his main project has been sending kids to college. And so we had a Zoom call with the author after, we were given the books and then given time to read them, and then we came back together as kind of a separate special book club meeting, and had a Zoom call with the author where we got to ask him questions and chat with him on Zoom. So that was fun. I thought it was very interesting, and I've talked about it earlier. I think I talked about this in the in my first half of the month video. So anyway, I just didn't want to leave off some of my books. So that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day. I already said that, I know. But read a good book, and God bless you.